Not all laptops are facing these problems. Some laptops have not had this restarting problem even once. Others have restarted once and have continued as normal. But the majority of the systems at this point have stuck in an endless loop of restarting, going into recovery mode, and crashing and restarting again. So that is the status at this point. It's just Windows laptops, Windows desktops, Windows tablets, anything which uses a Windows operating system. Unfortunately, it's pretty much the entire world. Your bank, your airport, your railway station, your office, chances are your personal laptops, they all use a Windows operating system. And as a result, most of devices which are using a Windows operating system are facing this problem that you see on your screens. If you do so, do not panic. There's nothing wrong with just your laptop or just your desktop. There's nothing wrong in your office servers. It is an outage on part of Microsoft at this point in terms of a security software known as CrowdStrike, which Microsoft works with, and they are working to fix it. Ashish, the question now is, what is the recovery time we are looking at?
Now, of course, Ritanshu, it depends on what exactly the issue is. We still do not have a clarity on what the particular issue that could be pinpointed, because all of these details are given out in the technical alert that will be released by the company. We're expecting that in a short while from now. But meanwhile, these kind of outages usually don't take more than a couple of hours to fix, but it's already been a couple of hours since we've seen this issue. So we are now, of course, expecting these issues to be fixed as well at the earliest. But meanwhile, you were talking about how a lot of users seem to be affected by this. Now, what happens is these sort of outages we usually see across the world in many organizations, in many softwares. It's a very common thing. But the problem here is the fact that this is a very leading global security provider that we're talking about, cybersecurity provider. And this is a software that's used by multiple top companies, which of course has a very public-facing software. So in case there is any issue with this particular software, it is going to affect users directly. And that seems to be the major issue here. The fact that a lot of operations are now directly affecting the end users. Usually, these sort of issues are seen in the testing phase, and the developers usually fix it before the software update is released. But now, the software update has already been released, and this is again affecting softwares that are directly linked to people. Now, check-in systems are affected, which means that now airlines across the world, including in India, are having to resort to manual check-in systems. Some airlines which are not able to do that also are now grounding their flights. So a lot of this has to do with the kind of software that is affected also, because outages like this, like I pointed out, are very common. It usually happens and it usually is fixed very soon as well. But the problem here is the fact that these are very public-facing softwares, something that affects the day-to-day operations of various sectors. And here we're talking about airlines and banks and media outlets, something that is very visible, and that seems to be causing a lot of distress across the world as well, because the kind of sectors that this outage has affected. But CrowdStrike has already acknowledged this particular issue, and they are saying that they are working on it. So we are expecting a resolution in the next couple of hours, because that usually is the norm. If that does not happen, we'll wait for an update from CrowdStrike in their technical release.
All right, Ashish, now again, the sheer extent of this attack is what has got the world paralyzed, because pretty much every important governmental or corporate system uses a Windows operating system, which is why we have seen almost governments paralyzed at this point. We have got several inputs coming in from governments trying to hold emergency meetings at this point. Has there been any response from the Indian government so far? Because this is something which has impacted. India is one of the largest tech users in the world, and I'm sure it has impacted everyone at this point. Has there been any response from the Indian government so far?
Well, not as of now, Ritanshu, but we are expecting an update coming in very soon. But like you pointed out, I was actually having a look at the list of the clients that CrowdStrike has, and one of the clients that I noticed was the US Department of Defense. Now, this is a very major client and a very critical, critical government body that CrowdStrike also handles. So this is again, like Ritanshu, I pointed out, a major leading cybersecurity provider. It's a very premium service. It is used by the select few in the world, but again, these select few actually affect affect a lot of users. So again, this is a major outage across the world that we are looking at. In fact, I'm pretty sure a few government bodies in India also could potentially be using this. The other competitor is, of course, Microsoft's own cybersecurity service as well. So this seems to be an issue across governments in the world and across multiple organizations. But again, the list of clients that we were looking at, multiple government bodies as well, which Indian government departments use this particular software, will be getting an update very soon. But meanwhile, as of now, we don't hear from any government body. But yes, the airlines across the nation, including SpiceJet, Akasa Air, Indigo, have already put out tweets. The fact that they are facing technical snags and they are working at the earliest. In fact, in the Delhi airport, the update that we're getting is that manual check-ins have already begun because their systems are not working. The check-in systems are also having issues. So all of these details are being sorted out at this point in time. But a major IT technical snag that we're looking at should have been resolved by now. Why it's not happening, we'll of course have to wait for an update from CrowdStrike. But we'll be getting you the latest update as far as the technical details are concerned.
All right, Ashish, thanks a lot for getting us those latest updates here.